listeners. This is the What is Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Dietz. With me are Nick Grant.
Hello there.
And JP Cochran.
Hey, nerds out there.
Now, we're covering the anime show Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is actually our second episode doing this, so if you didn't listen to our first episode, go back and listen to that one before getting into this one. Because we are assuming that you've watched Evangelion episodes 1 through 18 in preparation for this episode. We're going to be spoiling all that and kind of piggybacking off of our thoughts from last week's episode in which we shared our thoughts on the first 9. All right, now if you enjoy the show, like us on our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at WhatIsNerd1 with no question mark. And leave us a rating or review on iTunes if you enjoy the show. And of course, check out our sister show, What is Sports, in which this week we just covered the Tour de France, which a lot of interesting stuff. It's not just a big old bike race. There's a lot more to it, which we get into in that episode. Finally, if you have any questions or comments, send us an email at winerdcast@gmail.com. Now, let's talk about Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh yeah. So episodes 10 through 18. We're going to jump right in to the episode summaries, okay? So we start with episode 10, all right? This is the one where they do the magma dive, right? So they send Eva Unit 2, that's the one that Asuka's piloting. They send that into the molten core of the Earth to retrieve a angel fetus, right?
Yeah, and how did they, so everybody, all the Shinji's and Rei's and Asuka's classmates, they're going off to a school field trip off in Okinawa.
Yeah.
And then and then they get some readings basically saying there's a new angel and it's in a volcano.
Right.
And was there some tipping point, like something that tipped them off that, hey, there's an angel in this volcano? I really don't remember.
I'm not sure exactly, because I feel like the angels just kind of show up and then...
Sometimes there's not a lot of explanation. It's just like, bam!
Yeah, it's just,
you're right in the middle of it, right in the middle of an angel attack.
Yeah. And so, so this one, I think that because they saw that it was a fetus, it wasn't born yet, which of course brings a lot into question as far as...
What in the world is an angel?
Yes, where did they come from?
I was just like, is it like a alien-made robot? But it's like...
It came from the Earth's core, which is weird, right? And so, I guess they originally intended to capture it, to study it, but then, of course, it
was too late.
Yeah.
It was too late, man. So they send down Asuka, or she volunteered because she's pretty pushy, and she said, I'll go in the volcano. So her Unit 2 it's Unit 1, right?
Unit 2.
Unit 2 goes in, and they put on some special heat-resistant armor, and they lower it down to the volcano.
Makes it fat.
Yeah, it makes it fat, and she's self-conscious, so she doesn't like that. And then she tries to capture it, and she gets it. The little angel fetus, and she's coming on up, and JP, what happens?
Well, it begins to grow. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it begins to grow
it's
like
crazy.
A little seed being watered.
It's born,
but not slowly either. Like it just blows up and basically turns into like a lava shark, and starts attacking Asuka and her Eva. And there's really nothing that she can do because she's tied to this giant metal cord, and eventually
Shinji jumps down and saves her, right?
I can't remember. Does she stab it in the throat? Like it tries to eat her, and she does something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know with the units, there's a lot of stabbing going on. A lot of stabbing these angels with their big knives.
Yeah, they drop. That's right. They're trying to lift her up. She drops her little knife, and it falls further down to the volcano. So they drop another knife for her, and while the angel is charging her, she finally gets the knife, stabs the angel in the throat, and it dies while she's falling. But then Shinji and his unit
grabs her,
protects her.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Well, because the little rope or coil thing lifting her up was breaking, right? And
that's right.
Shinji
the angel
came
attacked.
and rescued.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much that episode, though, because there's not a lot of like character stuff. It's pretty much just a interesting little angel fight. Pretty much, right? Was there anything else to it that we missed?
Not really. I mean, it was really quick. I mean, it was honestly, it was just kind of like, hey, this is kind of a fun episode where they fight an angel because there wasn't a whole lot else happening.
Right. Okay. So the next one, episode 11. Now this one you get like my first note that I have, because this is the one where there's the power outage, right?
Yes.
And there's the Daddy Longlegs angel that has the dripping ooze that drips down the like the hole or whatever, the well that goes into Nerve. But the interesting thing that we learned here is that the government. Did y'all catch this thing about the government? What's the government run by?
Supercomputers.
Yes. So yeah, there's these computers called the Magi.
Okay. Did they say, like, did they just start talking about Magi? Or, I mean, like, do they say Magi are supercomputers?
They explain, yes. They explain that the government is run by these 3 supercomputers called the Magi, which, of course, is a reference to the 3 wise men that were there whenever baby Jesus was born.
I was going to say the 3 Stooges, but...
But they're actually named after them. You find out the names of the supercomputers in a later episode, I believe.
Yeah, all this biblical reference, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's interesting. The government is run by computers, so it's like, okay, this is a society that runs completely on science, like literally. Like city council has to approve of the decisions made by the supercomputers, but pretty much like, you could imagine like the stuff like tax law and the weapons development and all that stuff is determined by these computers. So, but yeah, this one's mostly the 3 pilots, Shinji, Asuka, and Rei, like kind of trying to get their way to their Avas after the power outage happens and the angel attack occurs, right?
Yeah, and one thing I liked about this episode was, for the most part, they just kind of bicker amongst each other so far through the entire show. It's like Asuka just kind of pushes them around, and Rei's just kind of a blob. She doesn't really do anything. And then Shinji's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, and so they just kind of like do their own thing. But it was nice in this one because they actually came together to say, hey, we got to get to Nerve, get our Avas. And so they rallied around each other. And one of the things I thought was cool, so the Daddy Longlegs angel, it's shooting this ooze to try to destroy the core of Nerve. And so what they do, they come up with a plan with themselves because they can't get in contact with anybody else. And so Asuka acts as a shield wall, basically, and Rei goes down this hole, drops down this tunnel to get his gun because he dropped it, and then she throws it up to Shinji, and then he just unloads like 15 clips into this Daddy Longlegs, and that's the episode basically. But I liked it because they worked together as opposed to just, why does he get that unit? Why do I have this? Like to me, they just seem like whiny kids, and this time they actually showed some maturity.
Yeah. And
work together. And that's what I like about the episode.
Well, and something, I don't know if y'all noticed this, but each angel obviously is completely different.
Yes.
But also each one, it's like they're getting better at invading, So each one's tougher to defeat, and it's like a chess match almost.
Yeah, it's like a virus that's learning.
Yeah, it's like it's forcing the 3 of them to work together, because before just one of them could have defeated an angel, but now it's like, they have to team up now, so it's getting harder and harder.
And I wrote in my notes, that's one of the things I just jotted down, was that one thing I noticed is that the angels are constantly evolving and becoming more and more complicated and complex as the series progresses, and that's been kind of fun to see, because the first time you see one, it's just like a dude walking, he's like, I've got a sword and I'm going to destroy Nerve, and now it's like these bugs and these things that have more to it.
Yeah, well, and I think that later angels in this kind of section of the show is when it starts getting really interesting, I think.
Oh yeah, no, these were some of my favorite angels that I've seen.
But on to the next episode, it's episode 12. A lot of this is about Misato's backstory, right? Because it starts off, it's a flashback that she's having about, apparently she was there in Antarctica whenever the second impact happened. She almost died. That's how she got the scar on her chest. But Also, at the beginning of this episode, she gets a promotion. Then there's an attack from the space angel, right? Like the satellite angel with the 3 eyes. So, I guess what's y'all's take on this episode?
It's always fun to see like some backstory to characters, and you kind of see where they came from, especially with the Miss Masato, and seeing that she was at the second impact. And it was cool seeing the space angel come in and basically just start bombing stuff. And it was like the impending doom almost. Like, okay, the bombs that it's dropping are getting closer and closer to Nerve. And so it was like, we got to figure out how to defeat this thing before it destroys us. And I mean, I know that's kind of the theme of the show is like, that's the whole process is this angel's coming to destroy us. What can we do to stop it? But this one felt like a little more time sensitive.
Yeah, and then you learn a little bit more about Masato's history because she talks about her dad and just how he was killed by the angels.
And also it was talking about how it was like that's her motivation to being a Nerve. Like they were asking her why she's at Nerve, and this kind of shed some light on that, like why she's doing this is part of it's kind of revenge for her father. And also because she feels like she's seen it firsthand, the damage these angels can cause. So that's her motivation for being at Nerve.
Yeah, and of course Shinji's doing it because he wants approval from his dad, right? So they both of them have their part of their motivation has to do with their dads. Now, they also say that I guess they make it. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but they say that Asuka's motivation is basically to impress people or the reason that she pilots the Eva is because she likes to show off her skills and
which is pretty obvious
throughout
the show,
but I guess that the mystery at this point is Rei, but I mean, again, judging by her actions you can kind of tell that she's doing it because Shinji's dad tells her to, and she listens to what Shinji's dad tells her.
She like really likes, or they just seem to have a good relationship.
Yeah. So, and I know that Nick's got some theories on that.
Yeah, and I was kind of talk about that because, throughout the show, Shinji is kind of jealous of. Well, he is jealous of Rei's relationship with his father because he's like, why is my dad's giving more approval and seem to be more caring about Rei than me, his own son, and like I haven't seen much more, but I kind of get the feeling that maybe there's like a Star Wars feel where maybe she's a like a half sister or something like that, because
they have like a father-daughter relationship,
right, and so I feel like there's some sort of family connection between Rei, Shinji, and his father. I feel like there's something going on. But getting back to the story of the episode, so the angel is dropping these bombs to kind of lock in on Tokyo 3, and then when it finally locks in, it starts falling down into the earth to basically act as a kamikaze, and the 3 Avas are deployed, reach the angel before it hits the ground and hold it back and use their AT fields to stop it and destroy it, and then that's pretty much it. They're all like, all right, we did it, woohoo. And and honestly at this point in the show, I mean, I am enjoying it, but I do feel like it, for the most part, the format is kind of rinse and repeat. There's an obstacle, we sit around, find a solution, and I think one of my favorite angel attacks is coming up in the next episode. Yeah, actually, the next one we talk about, how they kind of changed it up a little bit. But I know later on through the series they kind of change up that flow. But right now, I just feel like it's kind of a
and that's kind of one of the downsides of the show is that it because the good parts of it are not the like action scenes,
Right.
Because usually whenever we talk about like the angel encounters, we kind of just breeze through them a little bit because I feel like the strengths of the show are more in the character stuff, and so a lot of these episodes that we saw like in this middle chunk are kind of just filler. Just basically they got to fight an angel and figure out a way past it, which since we've already seen nine episodes of it, we kind of know the drill more or less.
Right, and another thing too, and you see it becomes more prevalent in a few more episodes down the road, but you start to see Shinji kind of get out of his shell more, and he's kind of not being so whiny and weird.
Yeah.
And so you see that development, and
well, just like if you say the world a few times, like I think you've earned some confidence, you know.
right.
But it's almost kind of frustrating how unconfident he is, even you know, even in the midst of this stuff. But I mean, we'll get into that.
Well, it's almost like they don't even need them anyway. But I guess we can talk about it because.
Yeah, that's right. Because what happens at the like in one of the later episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about episode 13 real quick. So you were talking about Nick. This is one of your or one of the more interesting angel encounters, right?
Yes. Yeah. This is probably my favorite encounter because it was so different and it does break away from the normal. It's that same formula that I just talked about, but it's different because what happens, so there's a test going on. They're trying to synchronize the pilots to the Avas and do some more tests.
Well,
and then all of a sudden,
what they use though is these weird like they're not, they don't look like robots. They look like giant headless monsters. These test Avas that they're doing. And so there's all these questions about what the Avas are, and this is another kind of like thing that's just like, what? Like, what are they? Like, what are they? Like, and they don't tell you in the show. And so it's just kind of got you wondering what these giant, you know, prototypes are that they're syncing up to. But go on, Nick.
But yeah, so they're doing these tests, and then the next thing they know, there's like, there's some corruption and some corrosion with the computers. Let's get them out. Let's get the pilots out of it, out of the synchronization tests. But what it really is, it's an angel. It's not. It's these tiny little molecules that are going into Nerve's system and looking at all their files, and is basically trying to destroy Nerve from the inside out.
Yeah, it's like a virus.
That's a virus that's moving so super fast to explode Nerve, basically.
But so, like, I mean, how did it get in there? Like,
because it appears as like a spot on the wall. Basically, it looks like mold or something,
okay.
And then it turns out that that's not mold. That's an angel, and it's not just like this bacteria. It's like they describe it as like nano bots, you know, just like little robots that are just spreading around.
It's crazy, and I liked it because at one point too, they say, let's try hitting it with all this oxygen or something to kind of, maybe that'll slow it down, and it works for like a little bit. And then as JP, you mentioned earlier, it's like the angels are like viruses. This angel on the fly said, hey, it adapted and decided that this actually makes me stronger, and started moving at a faster rate throughout Nerve's computer network, and it was very stressful and made me feel anxious because like they're watching the angel just corrupt and take over everything, and there was literally nothing that they could do until what's that scientist's name?
Ritsuko.
Ritsuko. Yeah, she found some way to.
Yeah, because she explains that her mother had built the Magi, the 3 supercomputers, and so the virus, or the angel virus, was infecting them, and it infected 2 of them, and so there's one left, which they called Caspar. And Ritsuko explains that her mother had created 3, so the 3 Magi represented different parts of her mom. There was the scientist, the mother, and the woman. So the woman part of the supercomputer is the one that survived, Caspar. And somehow they end up, I guess, rebooting the system at the last minute, and it ended up destroying the angel. So it's interesting that the pilots didn't do anything this episode, right? It was pretty much just the scientists.
And that's kind of one thing I liked, because it broke away from, like I said, the typical, hey, they'll hop in the Avas and save the day. It was more on Nerve itself and some of the other supporting cast. And that's what I like seeing. And also at the same time, went, like you said, Deeds, more information on the Magi and some of their workings and everything like that.
Next, we got episode 14, which half of it is a recap of the whole series. which I actually was really thankful for whenever they started doing that, because there's a lot to keep up with. Yeah. And so usually whenever that happens in a show, I'll skip to the next one or something. But this one, since there's so much happening and so many unanswered questions, it was good to kind of be reminded of all that. And what's interesting is they actually name all the angels at this point. And the names of the angels are, there's a type of Jewish religion called Cabal, which is kind of like, they focus a lot on, it's almost like mythology. Like they have a bunch of different names for types of like angels and demons and spirits and stuff like that, that like mainstream Judaism and Christianity don't really follow along with. But so all the names of the angels come from this. Like for example, Sakiel is the name of the third angel. I believe that's the name of, in Kabbalah, that's the name of the angel of air or something like that. And so that has to do with, what the angel is. So there's meaning behind each one, but it's just kind of fun to dig into if you're into that type of stuff. But basically, after the recap, where does it pick up after the recap? Because it goes through all the angels and how they're defeated, right? And then we get...
It's more synchronization tests, which I feel like that's like what they do for the Avas. Like, hey, let's sync them up with the pilots.
Yeah.
And so they're doing that again. And they're trying to mix it up, though. They put Rey in Unit 1, which is Shinji's Ava, and it goes fairly well. But they say, hey, let's put Shinji in Unit 0, which is Rey's, and it doesn't go as well.
Yeah, which is weird because it kind of takes over control.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and tries to basically almost kill Rey, or it's like Rey's back behind the glass watching, and then
it's like going after her.
Yeah, it's like going after.
Yes.
Which is strange.
It will Ava went berserk before, and that's when Shinji's dad was there, and so you kind of think that the Ava was trying to kill Shinji's dad, but then you think, oh well, it's Rey. And Miss Masato says, oh, the Ava's trying to kill Rey. But then, I can never remember, what's her name? Ritsuko?
Yeah, Ritsuko. Yeah, Ritsuko says it's trying to kill her.
Yeah. And so everybody thinks it's Ava is trying to kill Samba. But, so that's really pretty much it for the most part.
But also, because before that, you get the scene where Shinji's dad is meeting with the board of something, right? They call themselves SEAL, but it's like these mysterious leaders in this room. And so he talks about how he says our schedule is proceeding just as the Dead Sea Scrolls described. So there's some kind of a prophecy that's linked to the angels invading, according to, and y'all know, like the deal with the Dead Sea Scrolls is that's where we get our translation of, like that's where the Bible comes from, basically. And so there was something that was prophesied in the Dead Sea Scrolls, like, thousands of years ago, that these angels were coming. So they kind of know what's going on. They know more than they let on, at least. But they don't really answer enough for us to go along with.
No. And then, so after that, they shut down Unit 0, and it shows at the very end of the episode that Rey's back in Unit 0, and she has some thing with her going down this long corridor down in down in Nerve's base.
They call it the Spear of Longinus. Do you guys know what that is? It's a reference to a biblical thing.
No.
Or it's like it's also called the Spear of Destiny. Y'all heard of that? Or the Lance?
I've heard the Pick of Destiny. The Tenacious D.
So whenever Jesus was crucified, right? They poked him with a spear to make sure he was dead, but I believe that was supposed to turn out to be the thing that actually killed him, and so that's called the Spear of Longinus. So that is another reference to a biblical thing, which comes back later, right, in a later episode. But so we got episode 15 now, and
this is when some stuff started to kind of break away from the normal formula and kind of get. The show's been interesting and fun to watch the entire time, but this is when I feel like things start to really pick up and you're really starting to question what Nerve's about, and you've known there's some shady stuff happening, but now it's like, all right, there really is some pretty big shady stuff happening. Because it starts off with Kaji, who, for the most part, I thought, why is this guy still there? He was a teacher or a reporter or something. He was helping out Asuka, and it's like he's kind of done his duty. Why is he still hanging around? Other than to add weird tension between Miss Masato.
Yeah, I actually had to look up what his job was because I was like, what is he doing?
I thought he was like a reporter or something.
Well, so according to the Evangelion wiki, he's the inspection officer for Nerve, which I don't remember them saying that at any point, but for some reason he's hanging around there.
For no reason, just to kind of look at Miss Masato and say, hey, remember we used to date?
Right.
She's like, get out of here, Kaji. so this really made me like him. He's not just a pointless person. He is undercover. He's a spy, essentially. He has a contact out in some far-off city, and he's been spying on Nerve, trying to figure out what's really going on.
He's uncovering the shady shit. Like, he's looking for answers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For some reason, at first, I thought he was like involved in the shade, like because I remember last episode they were on that ship, and then there's that big fish angel that attacked, and he like flew away on a helicopter. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, back in like episode 8.
Yeah. It's just kind of like he was in on it or something.
Yeah.
And
he's like smell you later.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it seems like he's trying to figure out what's going on too, though, which is nice because us as viewers are also wondering what's going on. So it's cool if there's a character trying to uncover the truth as well. And now he mentions something. I don't remember if he mentions it, but I think he mentions it. The Human Instrumentality Project. Okay, that's important. Okay. Also. The idea of AT fields, is also really important because right now it just kind of seems like it's like a force field, right, that the Avas have and that Angel has. So both of those things are super important to the end, like to the, I guess, the series overall. So kind of pay attention whenever those words come up. But yeah, so you got Kaji investigating, and then you get the bit whenever. What is it? Shinji and Rei are like, I have this written in my notes. Shinji and Rei are like cleaning something or whatever, and then Shinji says to Rei, "The way you wring out a washcloth makes you seem like you'd make a good mom," which I thought was like a weird thing to say to somebody. But
is this the episode that, speaking of mom, is this the episode where they go to Shinji and his dad visit his mom's grave?
Yes, because Shinji actually asks Rei for advice in regards to meeting with his father, because you figure out that Shinji's going to meet with his dad about something. Of course, it doesn't tell you until it actually happens, but that's pretty sad. He's got to ask someone else for advice of how to speak to his dad.
I wrote my notes. I was like, I felt that's exactly what I said. I said I felt bad for Shinji. He was like, what's my father like?
Yeah.
How should I talk around him? And so he was all worried about it.
Yeah. I mean, they just have like completely different personalities, I think.
Well, and it's like his dad doesn't like care at all about him.
He's not very sympathetic.
Yeah, and when they went to the grave, the tombstone, and they were just kind of talking a little bit, and then basically his dad said, well, time's up. I need to go. And so they weren't there very long. And
he hops on a helicopter and flies away and leaves Shinji there by himself.
Yeah, and it was, and also he said, this is a facade, that your mother's not there, like at the grave. And I was like, oh, that's weird.
That cemetery, it's like a mass cemetery. It has like thousands of graves from, I guess, all the people that died in the second impact. And he even says that like they're not real graves; they're just kind of symbols, because they didn't recover the bodies of the people who died. But so Shinji says to his dad, he says, this was great. So like that short interaction, Shinji, genuinely felt like that was a great interaction with his dad. And that made me so sad. Like that almost...
Did it bring a tear to your eye?
Almost, like honestly.
I mean, it's rough.
I'm the type of guy that gets like, I get emotional a lot for like movies, and that moment's like just super sad.
It is.
Yeah.
So after that, Asuka, she's gets hooked up on some blind date, and Ritsuko, Misoto, and Kaji, they go to a wedding. Misoto gets drunk, and she and Kaji kind of rekindle their old relationship a little bit and kind of get close to each other. And then Asuka comes home after a blind date. She's not happy with it, and she's bored waiting for Kaji to show up, so she makes Shinji kiss her. And that was kind of weird.
Because you mentioned Shinji kind of gets a little bit of confidence. And I thought it was refreshing that Shinji did that and then wasn't crippled with insecurity. So that was kind of like, all right, way to go, Shinji. Like, kind of, handled it with confidence, I guess. So that was good to see.
Yeah. I mean, he did turn purple.
Yeah, well, she told him not to breathe, and so he held his breath for like a minute.
Kissed for
and
like
he almost suffocated. But
and then you have the bit at the end where Kaji and Misato find Kaji. He's got this key card, and he's going into like the depths of nerve, and Misato's fixing to like shoot him because she thinks he's snooping where he doesn't belong, and then he opens the door, and what does he see?
Like a big old skeleton thing.
Like a crucified skeleton thing.
Yeah, they think it's the first angel, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's got, so notice that it's crucified, and it's got the spear, that spear of Longinus stabbed into its side. And who knows what's up with that, but it's this giant dead angel that's kind of stored in the depths of nerve for some reason or another. So, what do you guys make of that? Do you have any theories on what that means or what's up with it?
I mean, they said they think it's Adam, which would make it the first angel. So I'm guessing they're either trying to use the power or energy of Adam to construct something else, because whenever you keep something pinned up like that in a lab, chances are they're trying to either replicate it or use it for something. So they have plans to make some weapon or defense mechanism, I'm guessing.
Well, and also keep in mind that, so they said that this is probably Adam, the first angel, and then whenever they named all the angels in the previous episode, they said that first one that we saw, the one with the beak mask, was listed as the third angel. So there's one in between that we don't know anything about yet.
Oh, okay.
The second angel. So I just want to point that detail out. I don't know if y'all
is Shinji the second angel?
Man, I don't know. So let's go into episode 16. Right, we get so they're doing another synchronization test like they always do, and Shinji
get attacked by another angel, which always happens.
As always. But Shinji's being a little stinker though. And
is he? I thought he's gaining confidence.
Yeah, well, he's kind of getting a little cocky.
Yeah, he's getting arrogant because he's like, fighting is a man's job, is what he says.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut up, punk.
Yeah, but he's like, I finally kissed a girl. I'm a man. So he's still getting cocky and arrogant, which I kind of thought was refreshing, although it's a little slightly obnoxious. Not gonna lie, but I actually liked it because. He's like, all right, he actually has a personality. He
wasn't so whiny like he always is.
Yeah.
Well, and Asuka, of course, is jealous because he's doing better than her in the tests. But the angel attack happens, and this one's cool. Like, this was my favorite one of this chunk because it's the orb. It's this floating orb with this big shadow that absorbs. Everything, basically.
I think this is like the creepiest angel, in my opinion, just because, I don't know, it's just terrifying to be swallowed up in a black hole.
Yeah, it's like, what is it?
It's like you're stuck there.
And so Shinji gets absorbed by the shadow because they don't know what in the world it is. It's like the weirdest one that they've faced. So
what happens, at first they try to attack the sphere that's just floating around, and it just vanishes and reappears, and then this shadow forms on the ground, and just everything, it like turns into quicksand, and just sucks stuff in. And so Shinji, being the all macho, arrogant guy he was, he's like, I'm going to shoot this thing. So he shoots at it, it disappears, and then he gets sucked in the shadow, and then they try to shoot the orb, and nothing happens. And then they realize that the angel isn't the orb, the angel is the shadow, and the orb is the shadow. And so they're like, well, what do? I guess we just unload everything on the dot on the ground, but they don't know what to do because Shinji and this Eva unit have been absorbed by this angel.
Yeah, so they're afraid it'll kill him.
Yeah.
Well, and they also, I believe they say, I think it's this one where they make it clear that the Eva unit is more important than Shinji. Because I think it's this one where someone suggests that it's the Eva that matters for some reason whenever they're thinking about blowing it up. But what happens with Shinji, like while he's in here, he's having like this crazy, surreal, like psychological experience, right? Like a nervous breakdown, basically. And you kind of learn about his fears, like he's like super concerned with what others think of him, and like he's having the conversation with himself, right? And it's like the idea that there's multiple selves of you, right? There's like you, and then there's the you that the world sees, right? And so he's having a conversation between the two selves. And they bring up the idea that like every person, like there's a different version of you in each person that perceives you, so there's like infinite versions of Shinji that exist like in the world based on how other people see him. And so this is my favorite stuff of the show because Nick, I know you cheated a little bit and watched a little bit a few episodes ahead, but the show starts leaning more towards the psychological a lot the further into the show you get.
Yes,
yeah.
But yeah, this is the first part, and it was very interesting. And Shinji, he just he's going through all this stuff. It's almost like a little acid trip, and then he feels the presence of his mom. He goes, "Mother, is that you?" And then once that happens, everybody's gearing up outside to destroy this orb. But before they can do anything, Shinji's Eva unit starts ripping through the floating orb and destroys it.
Yeah, and it's like gory, and like he just like busts out of that thing covered in like blood and stuff.
Yeah, it was wild.
Well, and also in that part, you learn that Shinji's dad, they have a mention of Shinji's dad being under suspicion of killing his own wife, of killing Shinji's mom.
Yeah, is that the first time we heard about that?
The first time that I remember. But yeah, it's notable. Let's see, is there anything else in this episode?
I mean, just that Shinji was just rattled after all that happened and kind of lost his confidence again. And
well, because at this stage, because whenever Ava 1 rips out of the angel, it's berserk, right? It's in berserk mode,
right?
And it freaks out all the other characters. Everyone's kind of just like rattled by seeing that, seeing the Ava like that. And I think Misato mentions that she thinks that the Avas may be copies of the first angel. She hints at that. That's worth noting because we know that they're not just giant robots. There's something else up with them. Okay, so moving on to episode 17. So Seed, that shadowy group of leaders, I guess, is interrogating Misato at the beginning, and they suspect that the angels are sentient and working together, that the angels are learning as they attack, and changing themselves on purpose so that they can get better at attacking. And they talk about how angel number 12 from the previous episode absorbed Shinji and was studying his brain. So studying how his mind worked so that they can use that for their next invasion, pretty much. Okay. And then we get the bit where we find out there's a second branch of nerve that was destroyed somehow, along with a fourth AV unit, which we didn't know that there was an AV unit for to this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess too. So there's a fourth kid out there.
Yeah. So we also learned that there's a fourth children. There's a fourth pilot out there, and he would be, or the pilot would be piloting Ava number 3, which I guess is built in the United States and is currently being shipped to Japan now. Yeah, so that's what's going on there. Oh yeah, they also introduced the dummy plug. So the idea, and you brought this up earlier, JP, that would make the pilots unnecessary, where they said that they copied Rey's mind into a pod, so they wouldn't even need a pilot to drive an Ava. It could just kind of, I guess Nerve could just control it directly. What else? I guess it's kind of not so subtly hinting the whole episode of who the fourth pilot is, right?
Yeah.
Right,
But why?
yeah.
Okay. Well, why would Shinji? Why are they trying to keep that from Shinji? Why would he not want his friend to be the fourth?
Probably because he couldn't handle it.
Because there's another
I-
guy, or
I don't know. They just didn't want him to know. They didn't want him to be worried, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because it's Toji, right? Shinji's
Right.
friend, the friend that punched him in the face
Yeah.
whenever they first met.
so
Yeah,
you
it's
think
good for
you
him.
think Shinji would be afraid for Toji's life, or
I think so. I think
just being
he's still,
protective?
probably. I think it's part of it.
Well, because that definitely, comes into play this episode,
Mm-hmm.
or the next episode at least.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much the main gist of episode 17. They say that we're gonna find somebody else, and yeah, they say it's Toji, and he gets called in. Oh, but also in this episode, you find out that the class rep has a big crush on Toji, and she's gonna
Yeah.
start making him lunches and stuff, and he's oblivious to her feelings, and
I don't think he's oblivious. I think that he knows that he's about to take a dangerous job, though. Because, he's all, like, reflective and, like,
Yeah, he's like sitting with his feet kicked back on the desk or something.
Yeah,
like that.
he's, like, he has a greater purpose in life, So stuff like a girl having a crush on him might
He's not like being as immature as he was in the earlier
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah. And so that brings us to episode 18. This was the last one that we watched for this week. So Ava Unit 3 comes alive during the test, and Toji is inside Ava Unit 3 when this happens. And I guess it becomes the 13th angel somehow. It doesn't really explain how.
Well,
but-
sort of. So in the last episode, or I can't remember if it's the end of episode 17 or in this one. Yeah, it's in this one. So they're bringing Unit 3. In the very beginning, it's just hanging by some strings, basically being carried by some airplanes, and it goes into flies through a cloud, and they kind of lose contact. And I think the angels were in that cloud and basically got on Unit 3 and started infecting it. And then when they're doing Toji's sync test, it goes berserk and then loses control and then becomes the next angel.
Gotcha.
And so that's how that happens. And then the angel starts really just going crazy, and it gets launched. And at this point, Shinji doesn't know that Toji's the pilot, or is in Unit 3, and Unit 3 destroys the test facility where it was hanging out.
Yeah, and Misato and Ritsuko were there as well, and so you don't know what happened to them for the majority of the episode. They're
Right.
kind of out of commission, and so Shinji's dad has to take over as the commander for the attack. And this is the first time that's happened.
Yeah, and it's also important to point out that it's not at the Nerve HQ in Tokyo 3. It's somewhere else in a different test facility.
Yeah.
And so they're aware that Unit 3 is headed towards Tokyo, and Unit Rei and Asuka, they try to attack it and have no luck. And Shinji, he realizes, wait, if there's a pilot in there, he's probably 14 years old. I can't destroy this and kill it. We got to try to save it. And his dad says, shut up, Shinji. Destroy the angel, or destroy the unit, Ava. He says, I'm not going to do that. And he refuses. And then his dad says, fine, switch. It wasn't a dummy plug, but they basically make that Ava unresponsive to Shinji and just goes berserk and just destroys Unit 3.
Yeah, but they basically, it wasn't a dummy plug because Shinji was in there, but they used that to basically take control of Ava and take control out of Shinji's hands. So whatever they were trying to do with the dummy plug, now, bottom line, Nerve is able to control the Avas if they want to. And so, like this part was intense, right? Because it's like Shinji's flipping out because he can't do anything about it, and so he beats the crap out of the other Ava, and then rips out the plug and smashes it in his hands, and Shinji's freaking out and stuff.
And there's that jelly blood looking stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
The rivers are red with angel blood and all this other stuff.
Well, and he still doesn't know the pilot is Toji, and so it's as a viewer, you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen when he finds out that it's him? And Thankfully, you find out that the pilot survived.
Well, yeah, but Shinji doesn't know that, and so after the Eva crushes the capsule, and it opens up a little bit, and you see Toji, and Shinji just loses it.
Yeah.
He just goes into hysterics, and then he doesn't know that Toji is alive. They tell you later that he's okay, and then at the very end you see Miss Misato. She's okay. Yeah, I mean everybody's fine.
Yeah.
But Shinji is still just in hysterics, just going crazy.
And so it's really important that it's like his dad made him do that, because I don't think that Misato would have made that decision, to like maybe there could have been an alternative, like he could rip out the plug and then kill the angel or something like that. But so yeah, it's really intense, and that's where we stopped for the for this week. And so. But Nick, you watched a couple others, right? You watched through episode 21, right?
I think I'm at 21, okay. So I'm just a little bit ahead.
Yeah, and so we'll cover the rest of them next time. But so, I guess y'all have kind of general thoughts of this chunk.
I mean, it was nice, kind of like I said again. I felt like it did get a little too much in the formula for like it was rinse and repeat. But in the last 2 episodes, I think it really stepped up and started to really start telling and developing the story much more. And I think that's been fun to watch, and it makes episodes fly by. And I guess the Avas, this was one of my notes on the episode 18, are the Avas living and breathing organic things? Because when they get punched and everything like that, this blood just comes pouring out, and you've seen throughout the previous episodes too, just randomly, they have the eyeballs. Like these things looking at them.
Because it shows like the flash of like Ava 1's face, like it's got like a face.
So are they robots? Or are they living things? Because they go berserk, so they obviously have some control on their own,
and they move on their own sometimes. And Shinji says that the fluid, I guess, that they're in. Whenever they're piloting the Ava, smells like blood. So there's something weird.
Oh yeah, I didn't really catch on that.
Yeah,
but yeah, maybe they're kind of like hybrid machine and man. I don't know, but I'm excited to see what happens because at the end of episode 18, like Shinji and his dad part ways.
We'll see.
I know temporarily.
Because it just ends with Shinji screaming, basically, right? And that's it.
Oh shoot, maybe I'm talking about the beginning of episode 19.
Oh, did you watch 19?
Yeah, I did.
Oh no. But one thing I wanted to talk about, right? Because next episode we'll be done with the series. I want to tell y'all about the situation of the end of the show, okay? Because the series is 26 episodes, right? Technically, episode 26 is the finale, okay? And now for you two and for anyone listening to this who hasn't seen the show before, I'm not going to spoil anything. But episodes 25 and 26, whenever the show was originally being made, the company that was creating the show ran out of money, okay? So episodes 25 and 26, although they are the end to the series, they are kind of unfinished, I guess. Like they end the story, but whenever you watch the episodes, you'll see what I'm saying. You can tell that they ran out of money and that they had to jump through a lot of hoops and make a lot of compromises to finish the series, right? So the fans obviously were upset with this. They did not like the way that the series ended. In fact, the creator of the show got people would graffiti his office and stuff like that, and send him death threats. Yeah.
That seems a bit extreme.
That's unfortunately that's nerds though. Like you hear about the director of The Last Jedi and people who hated that movie, and similar stuff happened. To all kinds of stuff that if you upset your fan base, if you upset a very passionate and dedicated fan base, then they'll, they do. People are crazy. So obviously, about a year after the end of the of the show, of episode 26, about a year later, they came out with the movie that was supposed to serve as the quote-unquote real ending of the series. And that was the movie, The End of Evangelion. So technically, the movie is the real ending, but both are really important to watch because, I'll just say that. I'll just say you need to see both, and you need to know the story behind them, the reason why they made a movie, and the fact that the creator of the show basically had to deal with a toxic fan base in order to make the movie. That's important to know going into the ending of the show and the movie. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I got a question. We haven't finished it, but would y'all recommend this show to someone who's not a nerd?
Yeah, it's a pretty nerdy show just because, I feel like anime just in general, people consider it nerdy.
Yeah.
But I actually did recommend to a friend. I said, hey, I'm watching this show. It's pretty good, but it's interesting. And like you, Deets, you said this earlier, talking about how the show isn't about the battle with the angels. It is, but it isn't. Mm-hmm. The main, most important and interesting things of the show, the aspects of the show, are the stories with the characters, their background, and kind of what's happening at Nerve. It's not just, we got to stop the angels. There's some shady stuff going on.
Yeah. So
I think for anybody who likes kind of like a mystery show, I feel like this is more of a drama mystery than is an action show. And I think a wide range of people would like the show if they gave it a chance and not said, oh, it's a Japanese cartoon, I don't want to watch that.
Would you say that like fans of Lost would like this show?
Probably.
Because it's kind of similar, right? It's like character driven, and it's got a bunch of mysteries and stuff to it.
Yeah, then you get flashbacks and stuff. So yeah, it's good. It's a good show. I've been enjoying it. Like I said in the last episode, JP's enjoying it. This really isn't his cup of tea, or hasn't been. And if he likes it, you can like it. So I think anybody can enjoy it.
Would you recommend this show to non-nerds, JP?
I don't know. I would feel weird doing it, I guess.
He has an image to uphold.
Well, because I would just because this is like the first anime thing I've watched, and so first of all, it wouldn't be something that would come to mind. Oh, watch this. It would be some, I don't know, like sports documentary or something like that. I have no idea. But
I recommend sports.
But if someone came to me and they're like, I need something, interest, like just different to watch, or I would think about it. Because
you would recommend Black Mirror to
random
people.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't really take. You can watch, easily.
Right. It's not as much of a commitment. Yeah.
No, it's not at all. And it is. If I was describing kind of really maybe just the underlying themes and everything, it is pretty deep. So it's not just like a silly anime cartoon.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that.
Well, whenever I was trying to figure out what our first anime would be, it was at first going to be Dragon Ball Z, because I feel like that's like the most basic anime show, and this one's different from a lot of them. Because Dragon Ball Z is literally just people screaming.
I don't know if I could
fireballs at each other.
If Dragon Ball Z was like this, I don't know if I could tell a friend, "Hey, watch Dragon Ball Z. It's good." I don't think I can do that.
But we'll get into that another time. But I'm glad this is our first anime that we're watching though, because it's good, and it's good on like a different level, I think, than other anime shows. But anyways, we'll I'm sure that y'all's opinions will change, or maybe your opinions will be even stronger after we finish the ending of it. So that does it for this episode of What is Nerd. If you enjoyed what you heard, subscribe to our show. If you're not already subscribed yet, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify. Also, we're on YouTube now. We got all of our episodes posted on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at WhatIsNerd1. If you got any comments, questions, or concerns, send us an email at winerdcast@gmail.com. And that does it for this episode. Tune in Sunday for our second discussion of Alan Moore's Watchmen. That's chapters 5 through 8. And our final discussion of Neon Genesis Evangelion will release next Friday, in which we'll talk about the end of the series and the movie, The End of Evangelion. Till next time, this has been What is Nerd. We'll see you guys this Sunday.